lot of big guys to hit on Jake, to give him that heavyweight.
How is sparring been this camp? I know you and Tyson actually go way back. What's your thoughts on that, him saying he'd get revenge for Tyson?
Yeah, whatever he needs to motivate himself and whatever he dreams he has in his head, but he's not going to beat me.
This fight does become a little bit of a dangerous one for Jake, not because Chavez Jr. is in his prime anymore. He's still going to be a shell of that early 20s Julio Cesar Chavez.
Jake Paul has reunited with Mike Tyson to train for his upcoming fight against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Even after their recent fight, Tyson praised Jake's dedication and said he would return to the gym just a month later without taking a break. Their reunion brings experience and intensity to Jake's camp.
I feel pretty good. I don't know if I'm 100% recovered, but I feel good.
Yeah. Now, what can you tell us about how that went? Do you feel good about it? You have a fight with Jake Paul?
Yeah, it's over.
Yeah. What have you been up to after the fight?
I was in St. Bart's. I came back from St. Bart's, and now I'm starting. Yeah.
Are you getting back into training, or are you going to take a break from that?
No, I'll probably start next month.
Mike Tyson admitted that Jake Paul's punches left a real impact. After going the distance with Jake, Tyson revealed that his body was sore the next day. He specifically mentioned pain in his chest and back, showing just how physical the bout was. Coming from someone with Tyson's legendary toughness, this speaks volumes about Jake's power. It adds credibility to Jake's rise in boxing and proves that he's not just putting on a show. He's delivering real damage to even the most experienced fighters.
Oh, no, I don't remember the fight that much. I kind of blanked out a little. Listen, know what I remember? Coming back from the first round, and then the next day I remember Jake is doing some kind of, I don't know, what was he doing at the ring?
Oh, yeah, a little bow at the end. He bowed.
And that's the last thing I remember. You know, but the day after the fight, right after, the day after, I woke up, I told my wife, why did I do that? I don't know. I just don't know what the hell goes on.
What did you think of Jake's power, man, when you were in there?
I don't remember it. But my body was really sore. Yeah, my body, my chest, my stomach and stuff was really sore.
The Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight sparked plenty of online backlash. Critics labeled it a cash grab, doubting its legitimacy and claiming the result was staged. Many now expect the Julio Chavez Jr. fight to follow the same pattern. However, seasoned boxing insiders have pushed back, saying that Tyson and Paul's bout was indeed authentic. Those who've watched closely argue that Mike wouldn't participate in anything fake, and that the hits exchanged were real. This defense has made people take a second look at what Jake is actually bringing into the ring.
See, Mike Tyson could have knocked him out there. Jake Paul's chin was wide open, but then Mike Tyson realised, just as he was about to throw that punch, that, oh no, I'm getting paid lots of money, I can't knock him out. So ridiculous, mate. This video has been sent to me so many times, it's went viral. People saying that Mike Tyson could have knocked him out. See, it was a scam, it was a scripted. But if you know boxing, you'll know exactly what's happened right here. Mike started to throw the punch as Jake Paul was moving, and he realised in that split second that if I throw this punch, it's going to miss because he's moving out of the way. So what did he do? Decided not to throw the punch. It's as simple as that, my friend.
Julio Chavez Jr. has taken Jake's challenge personally. He believes Jake crossed a line by fighting Mike Tyson, someone Julio considers a legend who should be respected. In interviews, Julio expressed his desire to restore dignity, not just for himself, but for Tyson as well. He plans to use this bout to correct what he sees as a violation of boxing tradition. For him, it's not only about winning. It's about sending a message to Jake and his critics that legends still deserve respect inside the ring.
We talked to Chavez previously, and he says this fight, he looks forward to getting revenge for Mike Tyson for what you did to him. I know you and Tyson actually go way back. What's your thoughts on that, him saying he'd get revenge for Tyson?
Yeah, whatever he needs to motivate himself and whatever he dreams he has in his head, but he's not going to beat me. So he's just going to be another legend that I'm going to beat and embarrass.
Well, you know, you always have big people at your fights. You know, have you sent any invites to the president?
Oh, not currently, not currently.
Who do you want? Who do you want to see there?
Man, we'll see. It's LA, so I think a lot of people will show up.
Listen, Badu Jack, basically said he'll offer you a title shot. You know, that's fast. I know you said, I heard you say earlier, you know, you can see it happening in a couple of years. What do you really think about that? When, you know, I know you're looking forward to this fight, but like when you hear something like that, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm super interested. I had Nikisa contact his team behind the scenes, so those discussions are happening.
And you look at him and you think you could take him?
For sure.
Logan Paul understands the challenge ahead for his brother. While Jake has faced MMA fighters and older opponents, Logan knows that Julio is different. This isn't just another publicity stunt. It's a fight where Jake will have to rely on stamina, skill, and mental toughness. Logan highlighted that the pressure is higher now than ever before. Julio's ring history and technical ability make him a real threat, not just a name. That weight makes this Jake's most serious fight to date.
Jake Paul versus Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
I think it's one of his toughest fights.
It's definitely his toughest fight. Jake, I feel like, has gotten stiffed a few times this year with who his opponents were gonna be. This is what I don't understand about people hating on him. He's not fighting tomato cans. Every single person that he fought had a chance to beat him. And by the way, people believed that they were probably going to beat
every
them.
time.
This guy is a real boxer. So it'll be another opportunity to show that Jake Paul is a real boxer.
The boxing world has grown increasingly critical of Jake Paul's opponent selection. Whether it's legends past their prime or fighters from other sports, many fans feel Jake avoids real risk. His rise, some argue, has come more from marketing than actual in-ring achievement. However, Julio presents something different. Though not at his peak, he's a legitimate boxer with deep experience. If Jake can win this fight convincingly, it might finally change the conversation around his career. If he loses, it may validate the skeptics.
Bro, it's actually getting annoying. Jake Paul, you aren't slick. What is this fight? It was just announced that Jake Paul's next fight will be against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Are we serious? He's 39. I get he was a WBC champion, but that was 13 and 14 years ago. This dude is 39. How do you go from wanting to fight Canelo to fighting somebody Canelo smoked every single round when Canelo fought him? It wasn't even close. It actually makes me mad because I want to see Jake Paul fight somebody, an actual boxer, somebody good, because I really want to see if he's really about it. But he picks the worst fights. And I get it. He's making a ton of money. So we can't even hate. We can't hate. But I just want to see if he's really about being a WBC champion, really getting up in the ranks in the boxing. Bro, if he was really about it, he would have fought Tommy Fury again. But he doesn't want to do that. When he fought a real boxer, we saw what happened. And now we're fighting another washed 39-year-old. We already know how this fight is going to go. We already know Jake Paul is going to make a ton of money. At the end of the day, we can't hate, but this is getting annoying. Can we just fight somebody good? Somebody that's actually fighting right now? Bro, what are we doing?
Jake Paul has always made strategic moves when it comes to selecting opponents. While some accuse him of playing it safe, others recognize that he seeks names that bring weight and conversation. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. fits that model. He's experienced, recognizable, and still active enough to pose danger. The risk is balanced by the potential reward. A win here could redefine Jake's place in boxing. He doesn't just want to win fights, he wants to be remembered for them.
The expectations,
a lot of
and
pressure,
then, you know, the pressure, and you know, he got involved with drugs and this and that, and you know, he seems like he's doing better and he's doing good. And I've seen him train lately. I've talked to the father, and he says, look, if my son shows up to the ring the way I've seen him in the last few months, I think he said like last 6-7 months, he goes, yeah, he's gonna knock out Jake Paul.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, I'm sure a lot of people would love to watch that and see that. So, yeah, don't miss the fight.
Yeah.
June 28th. It's going to be crazy. No, it is. I mean, because Jake Paul actually has... It's not that he has something to prove, but he actually can prove something here. Chavez Jr. went the distance with Canelo, right? In Canelo's prime. And so imagine if Jake Paul like knocks out Chavez Jr., then what?
Every choice Jake makes has a purpose. Taking on Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. isn't a random challenge, it's a calculated play. Julio brings credibility, but he's also shown inconsistency in recent years. That mix of threat and weakness makes this fight ideal for Jake. If he comes out on top, it's a major victory. If not, he still earns respect for trying. It's a no-lose situation in the eyes of his team and fans. The risk is real, but so is the reward.
Able to fight, and he's taking this far more serious, and he's not struggling with addiction issues like he has for so long in his pro career. this fight does become a little bit of a dangerous one for Jake. Not because Chavez Jr. is in his prime anymore. He's still going to be a shell of that early 20s Julio Cesar Chavez. But with 60 wins under his belt, if there is still any of that muscle memory left, there's still any go left in his body, because again, I hate to keep referring to it, doing drugs or having addiction issues does take its toll on your body, and sometimes it isn't recoverable, especially as you're going up in weight. Julio Cesar Chavez, not a normal cruiserweight, so he's going to be moving up as he gets older. How does that entail what he's going to do in this fight? I don't know, but I'll tell you, I watched him ringside against Uriah Hall, and it wasn't an impressive performance when he beat Uriah Hall in a 6-round fight. Honestly, when I watched the fight back, it looked like the only reason he beat Uriah Hall in that fight was because Uriah, like most MMA fighters, when they come to boxing, don't take credence of the rule set, right? They get hit with a ton of shots that don't hurt them, but also they're getting hit with shots that are scoring against them. Uriah Hall didn't look overwhelmed in that fight at all. In fact, he looked like he was in the fight with Chavez Jr. And that in its own right is pretty damning, because while he won the fight, that was Uriah Hall's first boxing match ever. And Uriah was not a young guy at that point either. The point I'm making with all this is I get what Jake is doing here, and fair play to him. Again, you do have to remember Jake didn't have an amateur career.
The pairing of Jake and Julio is smart business. Jake commands millions of followers and has the power to promote a fight like few others. Julio, on the other hand, carries legacy, family name, and boxing history. Their worlds may be different, but the combination attracts wide attention. Promoters know this kind of matchup draws viewers from both sides of the boxing spectrum. It's not just a fight, it's an event. Whether you love Jake or want to see him lose, people will be watching.
Let's find a real boxer. This man's an ex-world champion. He's way smaller when he was competing. Yeah. He have to come up to my weight. He's the son of a legend. I'm now Puerto Rican. Yeah. He's Mexican. It's the best you could do. It's brilliant. Yeah. From a business standpoint, it's brilliant. You can't really do better than that if you're not trying to feed man to the wolves. But you're trying to make it appear so.
But do you reckon it's going to generate numbers?
Good question.
It depends how they market it.
It depends what Chavez comes on.
Yeah.
Because Jake won't be able to push this himself. It depends what Chavez comes on. If Chavez comes on some like, listen, bro,
I'm going to teach you boxing.
I'm going to teach you boxing. Yeah, then it can sell.
That type of energy.
But if he comes on the vibe we know he's on, which is why even his dad don't really mess with him.
Jake has shifted his tone from viral influencer to focused athlete. He knows credibility in boxing isn't just handed out, it has to be earned. By choosing to fight Julio, Jake is sending a message that he's here for the long haul. He wants to compete at a high level, even if that means risking losses. Defeating someone with a well-known last name and solid background might just be the step he needs to be seen in a new light. It's not about fame anymore, it's about proving himself.
Got a former champion sitting over here to the left with a big name. Does this signal to the boxing world that you're looking to get back on that championship path, the pursuit of a world title?
Yeah, look, I always said it. I'm going to fight really tough people, and I'm going to fight big money fights. You know, this is prize fighting. And so I'm giving the fans what they want with every single fight, taking on tougher opponents, and this is just that.
I can't help but notice it's a cruiserweight fight. The co-main event is a cruiserweight world title. If you look just to your right, there are two belts sitting there on the stage. Is it at all in your mind, if you beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., that a matchup with that man, Zurdo Ramirez, might not be far behind?
Yeah, 100%, man. This is what I came here to do, is become world champion and to create one of the greatest sports stories the world has ever seen. Going from Disney Channel to YouTube to world champion in 6 to 7 years, that's the most relatable and best sports story that any kid can get behind, and that's what I'm here to do, is inspire the next generation and do what no one's ever done before in the world's hardest sport, which is boxing.
You faced some hostile environments in the past, the Nate Diaz fight being one of them, but this might be the most hostile you've walked into. Southern California, 2 Mexicans on the card. What do you think about fighting in this type of atmosphere?
Man, the Mexicans love me, bro. Like, I'm stepping into my home environment. They love me more than they love this guy. You know, Mexico doesn't even claim him, so that's just the way it is. And I love my Mexican fans, and they've always been rocking with me since day one. And I'm going to show him who the real Mexican warrior is.
Veteran promoter Bob Arum has voiced strong skepticism about the upcoming fight. He questions whether Jake's path is one of real progression or just another carefully curated show. From Arum's perspective, fighting an older Julio doesn't prove much. He argues that true boxers face tough current contenders, not faded names. Arum isn't convinced that Jake wants a real challenge, only the appearance of one. Until Jake faces someone younger, sharper, and actively competing, Arum refuses to take him seriously as a true contender.
Jake Paul is not fighting a real fighter. That's not even boxing. I mean, Chavez Jr., should have hung up. I thought he had hung up the gloves a long time ago. Jake Paul is not a boxer. It's a spectacle. The Tyson event was sort of demeaning for the sport of boxing. I mean, Tyson was an old man, and what are we talking about? But again, if Netflix or somebody else wants to pay for that event, so, I mean, that's fine, but I have no interest in it. I have absolutely no interest in a Jake Paul Chavez Jr. fight because it's not boxing.
Julio isn't entering the ring for a paycheck, he's entering for pride. He sees Jake Paul's recent fights as an insult to boxing's history and views himself as the one who can restore honor. Julio believes that Jake has built a career on exploiting names without facing real consequences. This time, he promises, will be different. His mission is clear: punish Jake and show the world that boxing is not a place for entertainers. For Julio, this is personal, and he's treating it that way. There's a growing group of fans who aren't watching to see Jake win, they're hoping to see him fall. They believe his success has come at the expense of boxing's dignity. To them, Julio is the answer. He represents real lineage, hard-earned success, and years of competition. If he wins, it won't just be a win on the scorecards. It will feel like a win for the entire sport.
Breaking news, Jake Paul is going to be taking on former world champion Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. in a fight that I think is going to fool a lot of people. Now, what do I mean by fool a lot of people? What I mean is people are going to, on paper, look at this and be like, oh, Jake Paul gets schooled here, gets schooled here. Chavez Jr. is 39. He was not known as a very disciplined boxer during his prime. That's one of the reasons he had such a heavy decline. He's also a lot smaller than Jake Paul. What I will say about Jake Paul is he is a genius, or his team and management are geniuses at giving him opponents that people on paper look at and be like, oh, Jake Paul's not a real fighter, he won't be able to beat this guy. This is very, 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 very minimal risk for Jake Paul. The only factor that could come into play here is if Chavez Jr. decides he actually wants to show up properly for this fight, conditioned, and use his experience to win. But Jake Paul, for me, and his team have been very, very careful about who they matchmake him against ever since the Tommy Fury fight. Ever since here, we haven't seen him in there with someone his own age, his own weight, and his own sort of experience. For me, if Jake Paul wants to be a YouTube boxer still, and he wants to be considered an influencer boxer, matchmaking him against these guys that on paper, oh, this is a big challenge for Jake Paul, in reality, not really, is okay. But I think if Jake Paul actually is what he says he wants to be, and he wants to make that step up, man, he's going to have to take risks.
Oscar de la Hoya believes fans are in for a dramatic event. He sees this as the right moment for Julio to return with power and purpose. According to him, Jake has not yet faced someone with Julio's combination of skill and hunger. Oscar expects this to be the kind of fight that silences doubters and brings satisfaction to those who think Jake has avoided real tests. It's more than just another headline. It could be the match that finally brings Jake crashing down. Jake Paul's popularity is undeniable, but so is the criticism. Detractors say his boxing career is more performance than profession. The match against Julio only adds fuel to that argument. While Jake claims he wants to be taken seriously, many still see his journey as more about attention than competition.
The expectations,
A lot of
and
pressure.
then, the pressure, and he got involved with drugs and this and that, and he seems like he's doing better and he's doing good, and I've seen him train lately. I've talked to the father, and he says, look, if my son shows up to the ring the way I've seen him in the last few months, I think he said like last 6-7 months, he goes, yeah, he's gonna knock out Jake Paul.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, I'm sure a lot of people would love to watch that and see that. So, don't miss the fight.
Yeah.
June 28th. It's going to be crazy. No, it is. I mean, because Jake Paul actually has... It's not that he has something to prove, but he actually can prove something here. Chavez Jr. went the distance with Canelo,
Yeah.
right? In Canelo's prime. And so imagine if Jake Paul like knocks out Chavez Jr., then what?
However, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.'s past is also filled with accomplishments. He rose through the ranks and earned a world title. His skills in the ring, including body movement, timing, and stamina, were praised during his best years. Though he hasn't maintained that level recently, true class never disappears entirely. With the right motivation and focus, Julio has the tools to deliver a performance that reminds fans of who he once was, and possibly still can be.
How good is Jake Paul's next opponent, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.? Can he pull off the upset and beat Jake? Now, Chavez Jr. in his prime was a really solid fighter. 46-0, four-time WBC middleweight champion. This is him against Sergio Martinez, a top 3 pound-for-pound fighter. Hurt him bad with the left hook, dropped him in the 12th round, nearly got the finish, but Martinez did end up winning this fight. And then after losing the title in 2017, this is him versus Canelo in 2017. Solid pressure fighter, good body shots, decent hand speed. But these are pretty much his only highlights in the fight, because he pretty much lost every round 12-0. But still, he did go the distance with Canelo. But then you get to his most recent fight versus Uriah Hall at cruiserweight. He still got some decent body shots, but he looks considerably slower fighting at a heavier weight class. His footwork is a bit plotty, and he's not as fast. Look, Chavez Jr., he's not a bad fighter. He's never been a bad fighter. But what he is very undisciplined and considerably slower and more flat-footed at 39 years old fighting at cruiserweight. The technicality, the experience, it will give him a 25 to 30% chance. But the youth, the size, the speed of Jake, that'll give him more of the edge.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned. Until next time.